Hi dances, say hi Mondays. It was good while it lasted. They substitute in May. For real NBA, we would have been watching the conference finals and debating Claw versus the King, not listening to this dawdle on the Ball is Bay NBA podcast, your favorite NBA podcast in an Indian accent. We are back after an extended break where we tried interacting with ourselves in our lockdown states and decided that the fact that you can't break up with yourselves needs to be looked at again. I've counted the number of tiles in my bathroom, the notches on my doors, and how many times does a washing machine spin your load in a minute. Speaking of cleaning, I've got with me, as always, someone who washes dishes as therapy, someone whose passport is wondering whether everything is all right, and someone who I believe sends articles to every website claiming that a former swimmer from the US Virgin Islands is actually the best NBA player who ever played. Vineet Devaya, welcome back to the pod. We are so glad you could join us amidst this
Oh my
catastrophic time
God.
for NBA podcasters.
Yes, yes, my friend. That was a very good introduction.
Thank you very much. Have
How
been
did you get the whole how did you get the whole sending links to
it's not a coincidence that every other link you send is of Tim Duncan being the greatest NBA player of all
it's
time.
not every other link. It's not every other link. It's maybe
Or is
like
it?
one out of five, I would say.
I would disagree. We will call our people from the NBA Wallace group. Shout out to the NBA Wallace group to verify
Yeah.
this fact, but I'm sure they'll back me up on this.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
like
So,
I just speak the truth.
yeah, well,
I'm a truth sayer.
so that guy is the greatest NBA player of all
No,
time,
no, no.
then.
I mean, I think he makes a strong case for it.
Mm.
And we will discuss this in our
We will
upcoming
discuss it. Yes.
GOAT
So
series that we
yes,
are gonna
that's good.
have.
But I mean, I think it's really interesting that when we know that basketball is like a team sport. You can't
Yes,
win as with one player. But then when we talk about goats, we're talking about an individual playing a team game. So which is why it's always very interesting for me that how do you convert a player's singular uh, what is that what he brings to the table into what he brings to the table for a team, right? Because I
hmm.
think any NBA all-time great team would be incomplete without Magic Johnson, Jordan, and Tim Duncan, because they were like consummate team players, like people who knew how to get others involved, how to do their role, and because I really think that. But if you ask me, then Will Chamberlain will always be in my team because I'm a huge Chamberlain fan, right?
Hmm.
So, and I think Bill Russell should also be in that team because he also elevated his teammates. So you already have 3 or 4 slots gone just because you
Yeah.
have such amazing team players who achieved success. And even though they may not be the greatest of all time, but because basketball is a team player, they'll always be the greatest of all team.
Okay.
Okay, you're supposed to laugh at that. Okay, all right, that's okay. It's all
I
right.
Greatest of all team. What does that mean?
It's a play on the greatest of all time. It's not greatest of all time. It's greatest of all team. The greatest
Oh,
team of all time.
okay. Fine.
It's okay. It's okay. Our zero viewers will
It's
not
I
have
think
any
I think
issues
I
with that.
think I think that your comical energies are being sucked
Oh,
into other spheres of
I
influence.
see. I see what you're talking about. Okay, all right. We will not delve too much into it, but I mean,
Let's
at
not
least
delve too
for
much
our
into it.
listeners on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and every other podcast that is
And
available,
the YouTube
we just want
live
to say
that's
that.
going on.
Man, like stop. So I was saying that those listeners should know that we are actually doing this on YouTube. So next time you get a notification, please subscribe to our channel. And next time you get a notification, please join us live and let us know what you feel. You will be hearing this a little bit delayed, probably by the weekend. But yeah,
Or next
that's
weekend,
that's that's
depends.
what I've got to say. I mean, I think people will be more interested in knowing how you use washing dishes, which has now become a staple as therapy for you. Because I remember that from a Twitter thread that I was stalking you on. Hashtag no lie. So, are you still washing dishes? Does it still therapize you?
Yeah,
Therapize
yeah,
you?
yeah. Yeah, it has always been like therapy for me, and I try to like wash as many dishes as possible. Yeah,
No,
that's
that's
all I
it.
have to say. Yeah,
Okay.
what else?
Okay, then I think we should not waste any more time. The zero viewers are will get pretty bored out of their minds if we start talking
Yes.
about our personal thing.
Detail.
We'll get to it in the middle of the thing, but yeah, uh, I'm sure you caught the last two episodes of the Last Dance.
The Last Dance.
The Last Dance. The Last Dance of the Last Dance. Episodes 9
Yes.
and 10.
Yes.
I mean, I would have watched any content. Like, if you gave me Kenyon Martin and Kwame Brown, I would have been like, yeah, oh my God, what a great documentary. Amazing. Yeah. But it helps that it had Jordan on
Michael,
it.
yeah. I mean, it was a very, very good documentary in terms of
Mm.
like just I think like the production quality, etc., was really good.
Yeah.
It gave an insight on Jordan. Like, he spoke about some certain things, certain parts of, you know, his journey that, probably he didn't speak about that openly before, especially like the Isaiah Thomas, Detroit Pistons part of it. And then he gave huge props to the Reggie Miller Indiana Pacers team, which I always felt was kind of underrated for like what they achieved in that. I would say maybe like 97, 98, 99, 2000. I think 2001 they reached the finals. Or was that
No,
2000?
2000 they reached the finals.
2000 the finals, right? So that was a really good team. Unfortunately, Reggie Miller went against Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Shaquille O'Neal, all in their primes. So really, there was no getting that ring for
Uh-huh.
Reggie Miller, and
And
so
then they ran into Detroit also. I think that was probably the last chance that
yeah,
they
the
had.
last
Like in
chance they
the.
had,
Uh,
and yeah, it was Reggie Miller was very, very unlucky. It was a good team, well coached by Larry Bird. Um, Anyway, so I was very happy that he gave props to them because they
mhm.
were a very good team. Um,
I mean, he called them
and
the toughest team that they'd faced. So that's.
other
I
than the
mean,
Detroit Pistons, that's what I
other
said.
than the Detroit. Yeah, I mean, Pistons and him. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
which I felt was like an underhanded comment because I thought the Jazz were like the toughest for them.
Uh,
Jazz unfortunately were very unlucky. Like if you look at the games that Jazz played against Michael Jordan, like there was a lot of luck involved in like the Bulls wins. And I think game 5 of that series against the Jazz that they won, they don't talk about the 30-point game that Tony Kukoc played.
mhm.
Like there's a lot of stuff that they don't talk about.
No, we'll discuss the things that they didn't talk about
Oh,
in a
okay.
different segment. But we were
We
just
have
trying to get first
segments.
impressions.
Okay.
Segment the water segment manager. I'll take a break. I'll put a sound effect, and then the next thing is a segment. It's just do
Right,
them that
right.
way. But
Okay.
first impressions about the documentary. I mean, let's not go into too much detail
Okay,
because.
so first impressions, very well done, very well, produced,
Mhm,
directed, whatever, edited,
mhm.
and all the expected figures there. I don't know if was Kobe Bryant there. I think he
Yeah, it
was
was.
there. He was there in a
Yeah,
small part. Yes.
what documentary did you see that you didn't catch Kobe Bryant? Please, you have to
No,
explain to our zero viewers.
I remember that there was a segment of him and Michael Jordan. I don't remember if he was there like as a cameo, but I now that I think about it, I remember him as a cameo.
As a.
As a cameo, like they asked him some questions and he
Yeah,
answered.
yeah. They asked him some question. He was wearing his orange hoodie and he was answering questions. My God,
Yeah, yeah.
that was the episode I got a little emotional at. I was like, oh shit, this is too soon.
Too
Uh,
soon it seems. My God.
Too soon. Man,
Okay.
hater.
I'm not. No, no, not a hater. Not a hater.
Hey, type hater in the comments. Zero viewers, please go for it. Type
What do you
hater
mean?
beneath.
How is it hater? If I hated Kobe Bryant would
Uh,
not be in my top 15 or top 10.
he's not in your top 10.
He's not in my top
Please.
10.
So calm down.
No, but
He's
he
actually
could make.
type
But
hater.
he could.
I'll only type hater. Wait a minute. Let me just
But
type
he
hater.
could. But he could make
How
a
do you type
top 10
hater?
appearance depending on like what you pick as the criteria, right? If you pick you know glamour and like influence
Okay, okay.
NBA influence.
Let's not go
Okay,
there
okay.
into okay thing. So I mean for me, obviously very well made documentary. If you're watching it with someone, right, and let's say I was watching it with someone and I was explaining to them, this is what is happening, which I kind of did.
All right.
They would be so impressed by how the documentary was made, the character of Michael Jordan, right? I mean, it seemed like he could do no wrong, which we'll come
Yep.
into in the cons part of the documentary. Like, it seemed like Jordan was one person who had bad luck till in the 80s completely, like who showed signs of greatness, signs of being unstoppable, could not cross that Celtics Pistons barrier, and then in '90s he exploded out of that barrier, and then he was unstoppable, right? Like his work ethic,
Right.
even his bullying part is shown in a different way. Whatever. I mean, he's shown as such as the perfect protagonist of a
Hmm.
documentary series. Like everything he does is right, even when he does something wrong. There's a nice
Yeah.
justification for
Nice.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a nice little play on it, right?
Right.
I mean, even if he's a bully, he's like, I bullied them only so that they could be better.
They could be
If
better.
he says that Republicans buy sneakers, he's like, oh, I was just kidding.
Yeah.
If his gambling goes over, he's like, I only gambled with how much money I had. I
Yeah.
mean, everything is so beautifully tied up that if you're not a podcast, if you're just watching it casually, you will be like, goat, Michael Jordan, goat. He took everything. He left the game, then played baseball. Then he came back, blah 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 blah. Everything is done like it's too good to be
Perfect.
true. It's too
Yep.
good to be true, kind of a thing. But I had an absolute ball watching it. There were some things I did not know about the Scottie Pippen, uh, the contract of Scottie Pippen thing, the Dennis
Yeah.
Rodman going in the middle of the finals to a WWE game,
That was
uh,
crazy.
Phil Jackson's like him buying into like Jordan buying into the triangle offense, even though under who was that Brett Brown? No, who was that? Doug Collins. He
The
had
first
more.
guy. Yeah. Yeah.
Under Doug Collins, he had more of a free reign in doing whatever he wanted to do.
Hmm.
So, like I've always felt that Russell Westbrook in today's NBA has the most uh, similar to Jordan, apart from obviously like he makes some really questionable decisions at times, but that that one track attack, that that kind of features, I've always felt that Westbrook has embodied that more than anyone else. Like I mean, after Kobe, of course, Kobe has the rings to prove it, which Russ does not. But that has always been the case. But I mean, I don't think Russ will ever be as horrible to his teammates as Jordan was. So that was my first feel of the documentary. Like
The doc.
amazingly well
Okay.
made documentary, like an amazingly well made documentary. But we are not fanboys, so we are gonna have to deep dive into it a little bit
Yes.
more.
No, I mean, we are all fanboys of Jordan. Like any
Uh,
basketball player or a follower or NBA fan,
mm,
they are definitely a fan of Jordan. Like
mhm.
there's no like denying that. But I think what we're not a fan of is the myth and the uh, the storytelling that surrounds Michael Jordan. Probably, at least we don't like blindly just believe that stuff.
Uh, I mean, which is just come back to bite us in the ass multiple times, but
Multiple times. Yes.
multiple times.
Multiple times.
But we shall continue in our job as unpaid journalists, unaccredited journalists.
Hmm.
You know,
By the way, for
okay,
everyone
all
that's
right.
watching the
Uh,
live stream, this is just very, very diluted coffee.
yes, yes. Vinny does not drink
Hmm.
alcohol. Mm. Plus, he is professional enough to not drink while recording as
Abs-
well. But
Absolutely.
firstly, he does not drink. But secondly, he's
Yeah.
professional. Or is it the other way
Yes.
around? Firstly, he's very professional. He will not drink. Secondly, he does not drink.
I think
How
the
how
first
how is it?
first one. Because if I was very professional, I wouldn't even be drinking water, like diluted. Yeah.
No, no,
So
no. We've got our first comment. Our famous world famous comedian Ramya Ramapriya said she loves Air Jordan, and then she says, "Wish I could go back in time and hit on Michael Jordan." Okay, all right. We will tell her that it is Jordan, Jordan, like the country. But I think she's already left the chat. Okay, yes. I love these random passerbys. So all these famous people with a million views and all.
yes, yes.
Anyway, we'll
Anyways,
move on. We'll not let fame distract us. We'll only let
yes, we
money
are all
distract us.
about money
Now
distracted
what?
us. It's true.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
so
So yes,
that's the
Vinny,
first impression.
that's the first impression. Now, what is the second impression that you had about the series?
I think the second impression for me was just that like Isaiah Thomas lives rent free inside Michael
Hmm.
Jordan's head, which I love.
Uh,
I think it's well established that the bad Piston Bad Boys, is my
bad blood with the bad boys.
favorite team of all time, and so I was very happy to see that that people still like they have like if you talk about say I don't know, I mean, let's say Spurs, no one has
Hmm.
really any like visceral reactions towards the Spurs. Oh yeah, the great
Yeah,
team,
yeah, of
they
course,
got
they
five
pass the ball,
champions.
they will win. Yes, the
Yeah,
great coach,
okay.
great players. Yeah.
So I don't. So I never get like a meaty argument, like
Hmm.
like a debate. Whenever I say, "Oh, Spurs are the best, greatest team of all time," everyone's like, "Yes, I can see that. We can see that." And that's it. Like no one fights me tooth and nail to
Uh,
that
yeah.
argument, right? Because it is like I'll win that argument hands down, and everybody knows that like you could make an argument for the Spurs being one of the best teams of all time, right?
Hmm.
But like the Detroit Pistons are like they have this love hate. Like people either love to hate the Detroit Pistons. So for me,
Hmm.
it was great to see that rivalry. It sparked some sparks in certain chat groups, and it was fun. I think just that was my second biggest takeaway was the Detroit
Hmm.
Pistons were pretty badass in their time and really had a huge influence on the 90s. The 90s were modeled after the Detroit Pistons because they were just so good. So like we had the New York Knicks, the Miami Heat that came after
Hmm.
it, which were like very, very physical. Um, so yeah, that was my second biggest takeaway was Detroit Pistons are still relevant, still have a lot of hate, and that Isaiah Thomas lives rent free in Michael Jordan's head.
Jordan said, yeah. Well, I mean, on a personal level, have you ever uh, kept a grudge alive so long that it festers in your head? Somebody uh, is always on
Hmm.
a mind. Like you think about that person, you're like, no, I don't like that person, and I will tell people that I don't like that person. Like for me, it's a little passive aggressive, as in if I don't like that person, I'll not. I mean, I'll definitely not like that person, but I'm not gonna tell anyone that I don't like them. I'll pretend to be like, no, man, it's okay. Who, what, who you talking about? Like
Got
that'll
it.
be
Hmm.
my sort of a deal. I'll try to ignore that person because especially in Jordan's case, he lost twice to them, but he beat them and then he sent them away, right?
Right.
But
Right.
so
Hmm.
do you think he has a problem with the fact that he could not beat them when they were at their prime?
I think what he has a problem with, from what I understand and what I glean from that
Oh,
very
oh,
well orchestrated, uh,
uh, interview.
interview of Michael Jordan was that
Interview masquerading as a documentary.
as a
Yes.
documentary. Um,
Oh, please don't
uh,
unsubscribe.
please subscribe. Jordan is the best.
Yes.
Goat, goat. Um,
Okay. Yes.
uh, I think was that he did not like the fact that people thought that he was petty enough to like get Isaiah Thomas to not be a
Ah,
part of the
dream team.
Olympics dream
Yes.
team.
Mm.
I think that's what pissed him the most, where he was just like, I never did it, I never said it. And but if you look at all the interviews before that, right, he's like, no, I'm not going to play for the Olympics. I don't know, why should I play? I've already been to like he really dragged his feet along, till people are like, okay, we know what you want. We'll just give you what you want,
Yeah.
and
I mean, if you're telling me
he
that you'd pick Chris Mullin, see, no offense to Chris Mullin, okay, like amazing shooter, like left-handed shooters are one of my favorites. But if you're going to take Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and not take Isaiah Thomas, the only thing is you don't want to make it uncomfortable for people on the team. And I can understand that, right? Like
Yes, yes,
Isaiah Thomas probably has fought with or made people fight with against every single person in that team, probably, except Christian Leitner, only because he was not in the league at that time. So I can
correct.
understand that inhibition that you would have. I don't want to play with a person with whom I share very negative feelings, right? Because it was definitely not like if you add Isaiah Thomas, they were not going to whoop every team by 30, 40 points.
Easy, yeah.
That was not going to be the case. And
Right.
I don't think Isaiah Thomas would have been a bitter person in 92, right? Like it's not like he would have froze Michael Jordan like he did in that All-Star game where he said, "Oh,
Right.
let's all gang up against Jordan, not pass him the ball." So the only reason that they could have done that is to make sure that Jordan does not even have a second thought, as in, should I be there? Should I not be there? No thoughts whatsoever. We have taken away the only obstacle in your, which you could have been thinking of, and let's even pretend that you didn't say it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean that it was very obvious, and like the thing is, Michael Jordan is probably I think he's the richest sports person right now. I think, if I'm not
I
wrong.
think, yeah, I think Tiger Woods was, but since that beautiful day in 2005 or six or something, I think it's all Michael Jordan only.
Yeah,
I
and
would
I
think
think
so. Hmm.
Yeah, and I think he also is the most influential basketball star. So nobody, all these other guys, they're not gonna like piss off Michael Jordan by saying, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Michael Jordan definitely didn't want Isaiah Thomas on the team." They're
Yes,
just gonna be like,
he told me.
"No,
Yeah, no.
yeah, like no one's gonna say it." I think the only
Hmm.
person who like actually went ahead and said it was probably Clyde Drexler told it, and I think
Hmm.
Reggie Miller kind of hinted at it where he said
Hmm.
like, it is the only possibility was that because if Michael Jordan wanted Isaiah Thomas on the team, Isaiah Thomas would be on the team.
Huh. I don't think he
So
advocated for Isaiah Thomas, but I think the contention is that he said we don't want him on the team instead of saying we want him on the team. Because if you don't say we want him on the team, that's understandable. Like I'm sure he was not in charge of the team, but what I'm saying is the U.S. Basketball Association, or the USBA and NBA,
hmm,
who decided that this year professionals will be allowed to participate. They would have had a chart and said that I think the best way to go about it, if we want Michael Jordan to unanimously say yes, is to tell him before he asks that your
yeah,
Isaiah Thomas is not going to be in the team. Instead of complicating things and being like do you have a problem, and then putting the onus on him
on
to
him to
reject
like
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
which it's petty, but
It's fine. I
nobody's
mean, it's
gonna.
okay. It's just that like he still has feelings about like him
Uh,
being blamed for it, and I just feel like what? It's dude, you're the one of the greatest players. Like you are probably the greatest NBA player of all time. If you
hmm,
don't want somebody on the team, you should be able to voice it, and that's fine. Like Isaiah Thomas can get butthurt about it, and that's okay. But
hmm,
like I think even Isaiah Thomas said in the open court is like if Michael Jordan doesn't want me on the team, I totally understand it. Like I feel bad about it that I was left out, but I totally understand it. I'm totally fine with it, right?
hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I just don't think like he should just like accept it and just be like, yeah, you know what, I just didn't want it, and I don't think people would
Hmm.
really care. I think what
I don't think.
people, I think
Looking at the
what,
result, I don't think anybody
yeah,
like
I think
was
it's
like,
just that
oh
people,
no, we would have beaten all the teams by 50 plus points and all. I don't think that would have been possible as well, right? Like it's not like Isaiah Thomas in his prime. It was old Isaiah Thomas as well.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you can understand that, but I mean, it, at no point are we saying that you should have replaced him. We're just saying that why can't you just accept that Jordan said no, I don't want this piece of shit on my team, and let's just go with that. And as Michael Jordan, he's allowed to make certain requests.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the best player in the
Yeah,
planet at that time. Yeah.
absolutely. My God, like some of the moves. I've seen more or less every Jordan highlight there is to see, YouTube or whatever there is. But
Yeah.
just to see it with so much context कि ये play के पहले क्या हुआ था, what happened the
All
day
of that.
before this, and
Hmm.
all of that was like a real treat to watch. I think I'm gonna start watching it again next week onwards. I'm gonna start with episode 1 and 2 again and make it seem like it's the first time I'm watching it.
Oh my God, that's a little too
Mm.
much.
I mean, like I said, like you give me Kwame Brown and uh, Arrividas Damontes Sabonis documentary also, I'll be like, oh, very interesting, very, very interesting.
But I mean, I think for me there was nothing new except for probably how bad Scottie Pippen was treated, and I mean, even I think for some of the stuff that Scottie Pippen did where like he didn't play the last minutes of the game. I
Hmm.
just didn't. I had not I mean, I had not followed basketball at then, so I didn't really know
No,
about
I
these
knew
things.
about that incident. I mean, you watch highlights, you hear about things and all, and I had known about that incident, but I did not know that it was in that year when uh, Jordan was not there. I didn't know that it was done at that time because I knew that it was done, and I knew that Kukoc got the shot and he hit the game-winning shot, but I didn't realize uh, like it was a playoff time game. Like I mean
Okay, got
that
it.
is
Got it.
what is
Yeah, it was a
most.
very important time of the
Exactly, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Scotty was the leader of the team the whole year. Like he was leading in points, assists, rebounds, steals, blocks, everything. Like he was the LeBron James before LeBron James,
Yeah.
sort of like putting out those sort of numbers, right? And yeah, I mean,
What was for you? What was the one thing that you didn't know that you found out? Like either shocked or wow, I
I,
never knew this was.
I mean, I never, I mean, I think I knew more or less all the things, but the most touching moment for me was when after the '96 finals, uh, on Father's Day when they beat Seattle. And
Ah, right.
Jordan just collapses on the floor and he's crying, and all these cameras are just shooting him crying. I'm like, come on, man, just give this guy some space. But if they had given him space, then we would not have seen that. So I'm like, being the process. But that moment was like really something. I mean, then I went and read some things about Jordan's dad being a not so nice kind of guy. But
That's okay. I mean, it's just human, right? You don't have to be a nice
ah,
person. Yeah.
I mean, from what I read, he was an absolute shitty person. I was being very nice, and I said not nice. But I'm saying, even like you ignore all that and you focus on the like the fragile nature of Jordan at that moment, right? Like his dad was there with him throughout all his championships, throughout all his big achievements,
Right.
everything. He was there, and now he won it in what is considered to be the best team of all time, the 72-10 team, and he just collapses, right? That and the fact that he lost motivation after winning the third championship is something that I could not imagine. Like that thought never occurred to me that someone like Jordan, who's Kobe's father kind of thing, right? Like if Kobe's junior Vader, he's the senior Vader, that kind of thing. Like whatever Kobe has, Jordan has two times of it.
Okay, yeah, we get it.
Yes. So I could never
You just want to
imagine
say
Kobe
Kobe,
lose.
Kobe, and Kobe
I just
in
want
a
to say Kobe,
podcast.
man. Like that was another moving moment, but that has nothing to do with Jordan. So the fact that I could never imagine Kobe losing motivation and saying that I've won enough, so I don't want to do it. I don't see what I want to do next. Like with Kobe and Shaq, it would have been like, oh, we won one,
Yeah, that's
we have to
because
win one
Kobe
more.
really didn't have to work too hard, right? Because you had Shaq.
That is actually, I think that is probably like but even Shaq didn't have that motivation. But Shaq was not a that driven
You
kind of
couldn't
person
stop
either.
Shaq, man.
You couldn't stop Shaq, but Shaq didn't really give a shit till playoff time.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, even
who
without
cares?
giving a shit, it put up numbers. That's
Yeah.
not the point. What I'm saying is the whole thought process of you could lose motivation as something at something that you love is very humanizing, right? Like
Right,
it
right,
shows
right,
that
right.
you have human
That's
emotions.
yeah.
It's not just
That's an interesting takeaway. Yeah.
it's
That even someone who's so like just rabidly passionate,
about success, and he
right.
gets tired of success. He's like, I'm not motivated enough to succeed anymore, which I thought was extremely suspicious, as well as I was like, okay, this
No,
man is
I
human.
mean,
This
yeah,
man
I
is
mean,
human.
I think I don't believe the rumors that Stern asked him to leave because
Hey,
of
what? That's a
gambling.
nice rumor, man.
No, no, I mean Stern is the biggest capitalist, you know.
uh,
I mean, I always was surprised that the Spurs would win because their games were
Small market.
so boring. Like even though I was a fan, I should be like, oh my god, this is the most boring game I'm watching. Like till they went into the whole passing, all that stuff. They were very boring. So I feel like Stern would try his best to like make sure that the Spurs didn't win, but the Spurs were so good. Um, just wanted to say Spurs. Um,
Okay, thanks. All right.
okay, so what's the
Uh,
next? Now we
the
have
third takeaway, third
third.
takeaway pointer.
So how many take?
Like first impression, second
Clear.
impression, now third impression.
Zero preparation as a
I
host, my
think
friend.
preparation is for
What is the first
really
takeaway?
popular
What's the second?
podcast. Is that for third impression? Third
Third
impression for
impression.
me, I'll start and you can end.
Okay,
It's
okay,
about
you start.
how like Phil Jackson used to manage personalities, right? Like
Hmm.
I've always felt that Phil Jackson's his managerial style is a little interesting. It works because he gives respect to all those people. Excuse me, but also like he knows how to deal with each person in a group.
All right.
Like one of my most interesting topics to talk about is how individuals behave in a group, right? Like even if you put five individuals with five different personalities in a group, like they will all sort of like iron filings. They will, some of them will group together, some of them will group together.
Hmm.
Even if it's a group of like six close friends, you'll always have a mini group somewhere and mini group somewhere. The idea is not to stop the creation of these groups. The idea is to make sure how the five people together, the team together works even with the presence of this groups,
Hmm.
which is something that I've always been interested in. And I mean, they didn't delve too much into it, but at least it showed that Phil Jackson realizes that you can't manage everybody the same. Like there are some
Right.
people who will be very easy to manage. There'll be some people who will be difficult to manage, but you want them because they what they provide, no one else can provide. I mean, prime example is your Dennis Rodman, right?
All right. Right. Right.
He's like, I'm gonna do this. I need 2 days. I need like a vacation. And Jordan is like, if anybody needs a vacation, I need a vacation. It's like, no, you are not that kind of guy. Rodman is not this kind of guy. Rodman can't work without being Rodman, right? He
Right.
does. He goes, puts on drag uniforms, has a different haircut. Like he needs to do all of that, and yet be a beast on the court. And for you to manage that, for you to not, for people to not feel like you're giving him some leeway, so that there is discontent on other side, stepping in to stop Jordan from bullying people too much.
Hmm.
Steve Kerr's story was very fascinating for me as well. So
Yeah.
all of that I think brought together because that coach knew that to win, like the team will win, the individual will not win. So that I
And
thought
yeah,
was
that's good. That's a good takeaway.
pretty interesting for me.
Hmm.
And what is your third impression, we need?
My third impression, I think, for me was um, how. I mean, I think I don't know if this is like really an impression, but I always knew that Scottie Pippen was very important for the Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
And I also know that Michael Jordan always like says, he was the most important part of like when I mean he, I mean Scottie Pippen was very important. But I think uh, the fact that they started the documentary with MJ saying that if you say I won six rings, something like that, right? Like you cannot say I won six rings without saying Scottie Pippen also, like something
One,
like that, like
yeah.
something
He said,
very
yeah,
like you can't
very
you can't talk about
camel
the
and
six rings without talking about Scott. Yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So and I thought that was very fascinating because he didn't have to do it. He
Mm.
didn't have to start the documentary with saying that you have to give Scottie Pippen like the credit. Like I think in the first 5 minutes he says that. So I think that really for me was shocking because I wouldn't consider him to be like
So
so grateful. And he
magnanimous.
said, yeah, and he also says that in his Hall of Fame speech.
Yeah, yeah.
So he genuinely feels that Scottie Pippen really, really helped him out. And I think that for me was kind of shocking because for a guy like Michael Jordan, who's, you know, it's kind of there's a part of him which is also a little bit what's the word for that? You know, where you think you're the shit.
Uh, I'm the shititis.
No, it's just like, you know, like I forgot the word for it, but it's
Non-humble,
like no, like
pride,
what do you say this like short people have, right? They are like this
inferiority complex. No, the need to prove their balls. No, need to prove their
something like
chops.
that. Basically like Michael Jordan would always like, you know how he would just get like pissed at people and be like, oh, you know, you're the shit, like I'm gonna like defeat you. Like he had all of
Uh,
that stuff. So for him to like start off everything by saying that you need to give Scott like that, I think just speaks
yeah,
volumes about Scottie Pippen's like
yeah. Yeah,
uh,
I understand what you're saying. Yeah,
yeah
that's
contribution because it had to be at that extent where a guy like him had to accept and talk about the fact that
mm,
Scottie Pippen was as important for the
yeah.
success.
Yeah.
And I think they were
Uh,
very good friends too.
our
I think they
viewer has said the word is cocky. Is that what you meant?
cocky. Cocky is
Okay,
a good word.
okay,
Yeah.
cocky is a good word. Thank you, listener.
Who's the listener?
And this is the same listener only.
Oh, same listener. Right. Okay. Got it.
Okay.
You could have come up with listener two some name, no?
Yeah, I don't want to lie on TV, man. Like if I get caught, then maybe
Fine,
it'll be
fine.
good, right? Like podcast owner gets caught live lying about his stats. I'm like, whoa,
What's that could
whoa.
be a documentary.
Yeah, 10 times this podcast owner has, but this podcast creator has lied on his podcast. Like, whoa.
Hmm.
I know who will be creating that article though.
Exposed.
Expose. And
Yeah, so
then put up
that was
my.
my biggest takeaway, I think.
Mhm. It's not the biggest takeaway. That's the third
Third,
biggest
not
takeaway.
biggest,
Third
third
biggest takeaway.
takeaway. Sorry.
Third impression.
Is your
Yes.
is your fourth
No,
question?
no,
What is your
we
fourth
don't have
impression?
a fourth impression. No. That'll be too much. But out of the side pieces, I think I loved Dennis. I loved Rodman's story.
Yeah.
I loved Steve Kerr's story about him being they just find the white boy who can shoot, like Paxson in the first repeat and then
Yeah,
Steve Kerr
that's
in the
correct. I
second
mean,
repeat.
I think the Steve Kerr arc, right,
Hmm.
is so interesting because I mean, Steve Kerr really doesn't come off as a basketball player to me. You know, like every time I watch Steve, like honestly, he is not
Uh,
very athletic,
uh,
right? So either there's something about I think Steve Kerr's personality which like I think attracts people or like gives people the confidence that this guy can do something.
hmm.
You know, obviously he's highly intelligent. That is very
Also, he's
obvious.
6'3". Okay,
Still, I mean that's nothing.
but
Six
still
foot
six
three,
foot three.
man. It's almost your height. You're what, 6'1", right? Six.
Let's stick to that. Yes,
No, which shoes, bro?
with shoes, I'm 6'2". Yes.
Yeah. So imagine your height guy like playing NBA. I mean, it's just like
Eh, I mean that
what?
I did dream about playing the NBA.
Yeah, dreams never come true, my friends.
That is not a takeaway that kids should take from this podcast. Dreams
That's
do come true.
dreams don't come true.
You can dream differently though. Don't dream about being a
Yeah.
6'1", 78 kilos boy who's going to make it to the NBA. You should bulk
Right.
up a little bit more, work out a little bit, and then we'll see. Why not?
And also have a decent enough game.
Have it. That you can work on. The other things you can't work on.
Fair enough.
You
Fair
can't
enough.
teach height. Okay.
So for me, the Steve Kerr arc was really interesting because it's just like, he's been a part of, the Spurs championship too. He's been a part of the Bulls, and then he went on to like coach the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, the Suns. He coached. He was GM of the Suns, I think.
GM. So there's
GM of
something
the
about
Suns.
Steve Kerr, I think that like people find, I would say like confidence. Like he exudes a certain kind of confidence that people say, okay, banda kuch kar lega.
Do you think it's because he hit Michael Jordan back that This is like he
I,
has the confidence that if I can hit the goat, then what do these other people have
but he
to
didn't
do?
really hit the goat. He got hit by the goat. He just kind
No,
of like
no, I think Michael shoved him and he shoved him back or something, and
he
then
shoved him
Michael
back. He
had.
shoved him back. Then Michael punched him, right?
Huh.
He didn't punch back.
Come on, man. Michael is a 220-pound, 6'6" guy, black guy
Yeah,
also. That's pretty scary. I must be. I'm saying to get like to be like I didn't stand down to Michael Jordan must be pretty like it must be stimulating in
fair
itself.
enough, fair enough. But I just feel like there is more to that story. Like there's more to his presence. Like he's probably going to go down as one of the most successful players, coaches, GMs of all time.
Yeah.
Okay, like that's not an easy feat.
So 5 championships as player and 3 as coach. Was it 3 as
Coach.
coach? 3 as coach. Yeah.
That's eight. That's more
That's
than
it.
Pat Riley, more than anybody. I think the only Phil Jackson has more than him, and Red Auerbach.
Red Auerbach probably. Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go. Little Stevie Kerr
Hmm.
doing great things.
So that arc is pretty interesting for me.
Okay.
He probably may end up with two more championships. I think. If the Golden State Warriors get Giannis Antetokounmpo, which seems very very wild.
You think okay? No, I agree. Giannis is not an upgrade on Durant, but uh, he could be just as dangerous on the Warriors
So
if they can keep.
firstly,
Huh.
this whole Kevin Durant is like much better
Oh,
than Giannis
okay, yeah.
Antetokounmpo. Please let's stop
Okay.
all this stuff, right?
You don't think that's
He's
true?
he is slightly better than Giannis in
No way.
offense.
He is much more rounded than Giannis. I don't think slightly is cuts it. He's much more unstoppable than Giannis.
Yeah, his offense is a little bit more better than Giannis.
He has
But
more
Giannis
range
is
than Giannis.
yeah, but
He has more moves than Giannis.
Giannis defense is like he's
Giannis's defense is coming. Giannis's defense is, I think it's a little overrated. It's just coming out of the weak side to go and block the guy because he's 7 foot tall. That's not
yeah,
defense.
but
That's just
that's
you're
literally
taking
locking down
advantage
the
of the thing.
paint.
No, man. Like I think you're taking away a lot
So
of things from the Bucks.
you're
Your
saying
Brook Lopez
Ben
and all those
Wallace,
boys.
Dikembe Mutombo, Tim Duncan, they are all not good defenders. Just
No,
because
when
they're
did I say
tall.
that?
Yeah, but
No,
that's what
Giannis.
Giannis
If you've
does.
seen Giannis defend, Giannis's defense does not come from uh, like being on the guy. I think his no, I don't think he's as good as. I mean, even Durant is not
Make
that
a
great of a
point.
defender.
Don't go say like
My point is Giannis
Giannis is
is
not
not
good.
that great. Giannis is not that great of a defender. He might be better than Durant, but that's not really saying anything. That's
See
just
this. You remember that article where I sent you Tim Duncan is the best two-way player of all time by
okay.
a huge margin, right? And the
Yes,
reason is because his offense is good and his defense is also good, right?
absolutely.
So in that metric, you can say Kevin Durant's offense is better. Agreed. No doubt about it, right? But
Hmm.
Giannis will give you 30 plus. It's not like it's not a downgrade, like yes, Kevin Durant can get easier shots. He
No,
can
but
probably no,
I'm
he can
saying when you
probably
speak about it,
get you like 34, right? But Giannis can get you 30,
hmm,
right? Uh, but on defense, Giannis is far more useful and better than Kevin Durant. And he does both. It's not like, like Kevin Durant, when he wants, he'll switch on, switch off, whatever he wants, he can do. Giannis like hangs his hat over defense. So my point being that his
hmm.
impact on a team is far higher on both ends than Kevin Durant. So I'm not saying Kevin Durant is like I'm not saying Giannis Antetokounmpo is an upgrade than Kevin Durant
Huh.
for the
Okay.
specifically for the Golden State Warriors, but
Yes.
he is not like you know like Kevin Durant is not so much more better than Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is my point.
It's an interesting point. I mean, it's wrong, but still interesting point. We let our listeners chime in on this. Please let us know who you think is better. Giannis Antetokounmpo or Kevin Durant? Or, I mean, specifically the question is there a huge difference between Warriors losing Durant and then getting Giannis in his place in the next season? Because this season is down the drain, sadly. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, let us know. You can listen to, I mean, obviously, listen to us on wherever you're listening to us at, and then type in comments somewhere. Be like, this is what we feel. And then we will reply to you, and then we will see where that goes. Okay, we'll do one last talk about the future editions of this COVID-19 impacted Ball is Bay podcast, where we will be
Yes.
discussing GOAT things. So, do you want to tell our viewers about what we are planning to do?
Okay, so this is the plan I had, and
Mm-hmm.
we haven't really discussed the plan exactly, but basically I thought that we are going to discuss arguments for I think 8 players that have the
8 players,
argument for the
yeah.
greatest play, eight for the greatest of all time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the way we
Mm-hmm.
are going to do it is we are going to do a live picking, right?
Ah.
So we're going to have a random pick. So you can, so for example, like if you get selected first, you can pick the first person you think can be a good. Then I pick, and so we do like 4 and 4, and then each episode
Huh.
we
And
have
yeah,
we
pit
then
them
we
against
like
each other.
we pit them against each other based on 1 to 8, and then kind of do that, and then on the episodes we talk about, we give the the argument for why they are the goat, and then we can have like a 10-minute debate on you know basically debate,
We're
and
taking
then
it back to
decide.
high school, y'all.
Yes, and then decide. I mean, we have to decide who the goat is by the end of the episode between the two.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes.
So
And that
it'll have
person will
some
get a
element.
call from us. And
It's in between, kind
what?
of like a live YouTube slash podcast. So there is a live element where if
Ah.
someone joins us live, they can see our live debate.
Mm.
You know, and they can find out who won in the end. So it's like so I thought it would be like a good mix
Absolutely.
of both.
That sounds amazing. So we need to get more subscribers then. So
Yeah, I
zero
mean, I
viewers
think
if you
I
have
think I
a.
think if we like tell people about this, and then when we are ready to debate, so I'm
Ah.
sure the
And they
goal
can also
debate,
chime in with their
yeah,
response.
they can, yeah, they can,
Ah.
and we can do this on Instagram also, if YouTube is. I don't know if you know how to stream to Instagram from here.
You can't stream to Instagram. You can just do that Instagram live that we did last time. Remember?
Yeah, yeah, okay, okay, cool.
Okay. So that's the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening to us. We are just as hurt by the NBA's absence as all of you, but we're trying to do this so that there's something that we can debate about. If you liked what we said, please let us know in the comments. If you hated what we said, please let us know in the comments. If, like us, you love Dennis Rodman, would love to meet him, then type Dennis Rodman come to Ballers Bay in the comments below, and then we will collect all of it, and then we'll send it to him, and we'll get him on the podcast. I'm sure if he can go to North Korea, he can come to Mumbai or Hungary,
Yes,
wherever
Hungary,
we are.
Budapest.
We must apologize for the beginning of this stream because I had no idea that the stream had begun. But due to some due diligence work done by Mr. Vineet, we realized it and we fixed it pretty soon. So I think it's cool. I think by next episode everything will be ironed out and there'll be no more chinks in this armor.
That's what you said
Um,
last time.
and that's what I said last time. But that was lockdown 2.0 and this is lockdown 4.0. So there are some mistakes have to be.
You said the same statement last time. All chinks
I did. Chinks have been removed. Chinks are gone. Actually, the
the
Ball is Boy
more
logo should
chinks.
have been there somewhere. Ball is Boy logo should have been here somewhere, but I couldn't manage to get it done. But next time,
Next
don't you
time.
worry about it. It's all taken care of. I've understood it, and yeah, we are almost hitting the 1 hour mark. So I'll let you guys go. Please follow us on YouTube, subscribe to this channel, listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts at. Unless you get that IMV podcast, IVM podcast.
IVM.
There we are not there, but anywhere else we are there. So please check us out and like, share, follow, subscribe, troll, do whatever you can.
Okay, all right. We are a little tired of getting like 100% likes, like all likes on our videos. It just means that nobody important is watching it. So, yeah, y'all go change it up. No, mom, not you. You please continue liking the videos. Yes. Okay. All right. Vineet,